Hi, I'm Charlotte, the host of Fashion Week International. I realised that there are fashion weeks going on all over the world, all the time, that aren't Paris, New York, London, Milan. The episode you're about to watch is one of our favourites, Colombia Fashion Week. It's got everything in there, stroppy models, urban pole dancing, Pablo Escobar's brother's even in there, and a rather grisly bum implant operation. So yeah, here it is, Fashion Week International, Colombia. Welcome to Fashion Week International, a new show that reports on the most fabulous fashion weeks in the world and the culture and politics behind them. We were here for Colombia Fashion Week, a celebration of Colombia's second most famous export, beautiful girls.
Colombia tiene una gran riqueza natural que es la mujer. La belleza es innata y es lo importante y lo que nos destaca ante el mundo. La mujer latina, y en especial la colombiana, es la más importante en el mundo, diría yo.
Todas mis amigas del colegio tuvieron cirugía. Antes de salir del colegio, de 17 años más o menos, ya están operadas.
Medellín es la capital de la moda de Colombia.
Los bolsos.
No nos puede faltar ningún bolso, no nos pueden faltar bolsos.
Bolsos grandísimos.
Grandes, para hombres.
Do you know there's a fashion week going on?
Vámonos para Amazonas.
Most fashion weeks are synonymous with cocaine. This fashion week is having an extra hard time totally trying to dispel that. Because Medellin is the old stomping ground of Pablo Escobar. And yeah, we're just going to have a big fashionable time and not take any cocaine. We started in the trade show. This wasn't so much high fashion as it was high street. I couldn't help but notice the women perusing and working the stalls were all flaunting their Latin curves. The girls all stuck to a fairly mainstream high street honey look. But there were some who were at least making an effort. Do you really think you're going to find the latest trends here?
Nuestras pintas son muy relajadas. Nuestras pintas nosotros mismos las creamos, nos vestimos normal, lo que encontremos.
Es amor por la moda en francés. Colombia se quiere internacionalizar tanto que estamos buscando que las modelos de acá sean flacas iguales a las europeas para mostrar unos diseños tan excelentes que podamos ser competencia como París o Milán. Claro, sí, hay modelos de acá de Colombia que son más que todas las que desfilan ropa interior que sí son modelos latinas.
Wow. You have an incredible body. Is it all natural?
Sí, claro. Sí.
Well, it's really weird that she obviously forgot that she had bum implants and a boob job. But maybe there's like collective amnesia going on here. That night we attended the first fashion show of the week, held in a disused factory across town. It didn't take us long to make friends. I was pounced on by the inimitable Diego, who insisted on taking me under his wing.
Have you been here before? I mean, backstage? No, okay, let's go. Do you like the way I walk?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, I can do it like this.
Yeah.
Okay, do you like it? Okay, now like this. Right? Crazy, you know? Yeah.
Diego,
Yeah.
do you enjoy the fashion show?
Oh, never. But
No.
I want to. No, never. Actually, I have to be honest. Yes. The guy tried to be a little bit careful, okay?
Try to be a little bit careful, okay?
Okay, one
Hola.
of the models.
No, a mí no, es horrible.
So this is backstage, as you can see.
Diego, what are we doing here?
Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, hello everyone. Okay, we are in Colombia Moda. Okay, which is a pretty, important event about money. About this kind of stuff. This is very important for us. Okay.
No, I had no idea what he was talking about, but I knew it was all very important.
Over here we have John, and he's responsible for the makeup.
All the girls are having, cosmetic surgery.
Yeah.
It's not natural.
Yeah, it is not.
What do you think?
Ok, ¿qué piensas? Que todo el mundo sabe que el cosmético no es natural y todo eso. ¿Qué crees de eso?
Pues, ¿qué creo? Creo que en el momento lo que no es que sea...
Lost in translation again, thanks to Diego. It was an odd show and surprising first impression of Colombian fashion. Cocaine had gone from being the elephant in the corner of the room to just a giant pile of prop drugs in the middle of the room. The vibe was very European, a long way from what we'd seen at the trade show. We skipped across town to the next show in search of some answers.
We're backstage at Colombia Moda, and the models are practicing, and they're really hot, but they don't look like Colombian girls.
Las modelos en Colombia han madurado, han crecido y han entendido que la moda es del mundo. Entendieron que ser modelo no es ser bonita, que ser modelo es llevar una prenda bien llevada. Se volvieron ganchos de ropa.
Yo sí creo que la estética que está cambiando, hace 20 años estábamos en una narcoestética.
Narco beauty.
Sí, no, muy natural, demasiado trashy, diría.
Would you say that this fashion week and models like you represent the rest of Colombia?
Ok, gracias. Yo creo que me tengo que ir.
She didn't like that question then. The term narco beauty seemed to be as much to do with class as fashion. After the show, someone tipped us off about a separate fashion event going on across town called Moda para el Mundo. I wanted to find out the buzz from some of the girls at Colombia Moda.
Have you heard of this other fashion week, Para el Mundo?
Me da pena decir lo que quiero decir.
Moda para el Mundo is more like for people that I don't want to say.
The following day, we resolved to check out this other fashion week to see for ourselves.
So we've just arrived in like a really fun area of town. I guess you'd call it downtown. It's literally a stone's throw from the actual fashion week, but it's worlds apart. It's called Moda para el Mundo, fashion for the world, and it's supposedly going to represent more of Colombian fashion. People's asses are just such a massive distraction from everything else. It's kind of impossible to talk about anything else. It's just ridiculous.
Estamos en Moda para el Mundo, entonces vamos a presentar el desfile de la colección nueva de Cheka. También va a estar el cantante Cheka, que es puertorriqueño, es un cantante de reggaetón, y vamos a estar acá pues presentando como la colección. Esa es una de ellas.
How do you feel about the fact that at the other fashion week, Colombia Moda, they're slowly phasing out Colombian girls and girls with curves?
Pues yo no pasé a Colombia Moda porque estaba gorda, pero yo me siento bien así como estoy. Yo creo que Colombia Moda debe mostrar la moda y las mujeres colombianas.
Although some girls were natural, most had definitely had some help to achieve those curves. The plastic surgery was ubiquitous on the catwalk.
Me atrevo a decir que eso también tiene que ver con la mafia y los narcotraficantes, porque ellos siempre quieren una mujer que sea exuberante, que tenga muchos atributos, pues que sea siempre mostrona. Entonces de pronto eso se empezó a aplacar, y esa cultura en Medellín, y que todos teníamos que ser 90, 60, 90 y hasta más. Parecer bonita muchas veces lleva esas implicaciones a tener que operarse, muchas veces no solo los senos, sino también la cara, pues todo.
All the runways are over for today, and next there's going to be this reggaeton band performing on the catwalk. I don't really know anything about them, they're two dudes. Hi!
Hola.
Is it sunny in here?
Es fácil. Nosotros decimos, ella quiere que la toque, ella quiere que la bese y que le dé. Oye, guau. Ella quiere que la toque, ella quiere que la bese y que le dé. Y en la disco que le dé.
mujeres de Medellín, en especial, yo creo que se destacan porque les gusta marcar la diferencia en sus cuerpos voluptuosos. Algunas se cuidan, algunas acuden a la cirugía, pero ya es parte de como nosotros, que cantamos reggaetón y tenemos que llevar siempre nuestra pinta que nos identifiquen.
Pancho, ¿qué tal? ¿Qué tal, Pancho? ¿Cómo voy a
Nuestro bling bling, nuestros lentes, entre ellas también lleguen sus partes, que las identifiquen y hagan ver diferente ante las demás.
It was unusual for me to hear women's body parts referred to as bits, comparable to accessories such as sunglasses.
Es muy linda. ¿De dónde es? ¿De dónde son? ¿De Estados Unidos? ¿De Inglaterra? ¡Wow! Yo represento mi linda tierra y esta hermosa mujer viene de Inglaterra. Aquí sí hay paz, aquí no hay guerra y el que pelee se entierra. Clase aparte, Killer y Regilo Fortunati con la belleza de Inglaterra. El Reino Unido encendido. Aus.
¡Ay! ¡Háblalo hasta ole y háblalo batata! ¡Ahí nada va!
After one of the shows, I made a new friend. One of Medellin's most popular commercial fashion photographers, Felipe. He offered to give me the Colombian model experience to gain some insight into Colombian girls' motives and feelings about the way they present themselves.
He's one of my makeup artists. I think so.
It's like hyper-speed makeup.
Se mira y se dice, pucha, ¿qué me están haciendo?
Sí, ¿cómo voy a quedar? Dios mío, eso sí saben.
Everything in Medellín is plastic y nosotros tenemos aquí como una especie de chiste o como que las niñas, ¿sabes qué piden cuando cumplen 15? La cirugía de los senos.
I don't think that's good. What do you think?
I think it's good for the boyfriend of the girl.
Wow. Oh, he's ripping it. We're trying on various really traumatic things. And I don't think I'm ever coming out of this bathroom. I'm going to try another one on. Bye.
Estoy sexy. ¡Eso!
So we've arrived at the shoot location. It looks amazing. There's these cool old kind of carriages, stray dogs, and it's a bit cold. No, no, it's not happening. Felipe's wife, ex-model Lise, was determined to style me in nothing but a bikini. I wasn't giving in without a fight.
You can. You look good.
Cold.
No, I just don't want to be in my bikini top. Yeah, but I'm not. I'm just not. I don't want this filmed either. I did my best diva impression and we argued till nightfall. I'm trying to bring out the inner sex goddess that's obviously in there.
Yeah, you get it, you get it. Play with your hair, play with the shirt. That's it. She's getting better. I try to make her more sexy. Yeah, that's it. Make it fun, make it fun.
I feel like I'm sitting next to a rusty train.
Yeah, and scream something. Yeah. The train of joy.
I felt so at odds with myself in those clothes. I think I had the beginnings of an identity crisis.
Nice, look at that. It's nice.
I hate it.
Why you hate it?
I don't look anything like Beyonce.
We then moved location for the final shot, where I have to say things only deteriorated. Where do you want me to stand, Felipe?
Over here. No, but listen that way.
Oh.
Okay, we start. Look at me. Let's start right now. Fantastic. Okay, we finished for today. We have a nice shot.
Remember, retouch, make my bum look bigger, put Beyonce's face here, that would be great.
Why? If Beyonce's a little bit black, why you want to be black?
Why not?
A blonde black?
Let's have a look.
Let's face it, no amount of retouching was going to make a Shakira out of me. For me, it would be off to the operating table. We'd arranged to meet with one of Medellin's most revered plastic surgeons to talk about the city's prolific cosmetic surgery culture.
Hola, hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo te va?
Dr. Juan is finding himself performing more gluteoplasties than ever before, and it's no wonder, as the cost in Colombia is about 1/3 of what we might pay in the West. He gave us a tour of his spotless office and, to my combined horror and delight, invited us to shoot a live gluteoplasty procedure later in the week.
Las 10 mejores colas de la televisión. Es la revista más leída en Colombia. Esta no se ve tan natural.
If I lived here, I'd probably want to look like that.
Claro. Por eso más pacientes van a querer hacerlo.
What changes have you seen since you started practice?
En Colombia y particularmente en Medellín existe, digamos, una cultura muy grande en cuanto a la belleza. Hay pacientes que están buscando obtener una mejoría, han utilizado sustancias inyectadas que han traído graves problemas. Procedimientos que causan tal destrucción en los tejidos quedan pues con deformidades que desafortunadamente no podemos hacer nada. Recientemente a una paciente le hicieron una inyección de un producto en los glúteos y la paciente falleció. Allá hay otra paciente.
Oh, what's that?
El cuerpo lo rechaza.
Oh
Desastres.
my God, what was that? Go back. What is that? Is she dead?
No, a veces es más importante como el deseo de hacerlo que el riesgo que se corre.
Do you think that a lot of young Colombian girls think that if they have plastic surgery it's going to help them get a better quality of life and a richer boyfriend, for example?
Desafortunadamente en nuestro país el acceso a una educación universitaria no es para el 100% de la población. Entonces hay muchas niñas de pronto de estratos sociales medios, bajos, que de pronto no ven una esperanza en la educación, han visto durante muchos años que las modelos y las reinas pueden escalar posiciones y le apuestan no tanto a su estudio, sino que de pronto pueden apostarle a un futuro en el que su belleza pues les ayude.
Girls objectifying themselves to climb social ladders is nothing new. However, there was one group of girls in Colombia who were taking their femininity into their own hands.
I think they're up there.
Pin-Up Girls Pole Dancing School teaches that there are other ways of getting a great figure and boosting your self-esteem than going under the knife.
Siempre soñaba como con un lugar para las mujeres estar tranquilas haciendo deporte, aprendiendo a moverse bonito, que no fuera necesariamente pues la clase de ballet y que no fuera necesariamente pues el gimnasio.
But more than that, the goal of this place is to change girls in the way they feel about themselves.
You're all, you're curvy and you're strong.
Like, we looked amazing because we feel amazing. Like, if you're chunky and you carry yourself all proud, you're gonna look amazing.
Que le cuentes mi caso.
When she first came here, she had anorexia.
Pues el autoestima lo tenía súper bajito y no me sentía linda ante los demás, o sea, no me sentía bien conmigo misma. Me daba miedo el rechazo de la gente. Antes pensaba que lo importante era el físico, cómo te veías ante el otro. Ahora me importa, o sea, como más trabajar por estar sana, saludable, por sentirme bien. Ya no me importa lo que piensen los demás ni cómo me vean.
Learn how to pole dance.
Tiembla. Le tiembla la manita y es que estirando.
This is really hard work.
What do you do if you fall?
Some girls do fall, and you saw her fall. It's not like a big deal. Really good for your first lesson.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know how we can go back to the fashion week now. It's going to be really boring.
Right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go outside.
Okay.
The girls were preparing to compete in the National Pole Dancing Championships in Bogota the following day. But before they left, they treated us to a taster of a unique sport, urban pole dancing. I guess it's like a sexy version of that most tragically uncool pursuit, parkour.
Súper. ¿A qué se debe la dinámica en un letrero de señalización? Creo pues que debe ser algo respectivo a lo de las direcciones o qué.
But what if all the pole dancing in the world isn't enough to plump your buns? We headed across town to meet 44-year-old single mother Maria, the patient who we would witness go under Dr. Juan's knife the following day.
We've arrived at the house of the patient who's having the gluteoplasty tomorrow, aka bum implants. She lives up here somewhere.
Hola, bienvenida, ¿cómo estás? Mucho gusto, eres Bey, muchas gracias. Bienvenidos a mi casa, bien pueda sigan.
Have you had work done already?
No, es mi primera operación. Hace por ahí 6 años que me dio como la goma de hacerme. Les mentiría si no digo que no tenga, no tanto las dudas, sino que el hecho de una operación, y más que se trata que la mujer latina tenemos la fama de ser tan vanidosas, siempre le da a uno como, sí, son muchos sentimientos encontrados, más que dudas, es como ansiedad, es como alegría, es temores. Yo creo que todo el mundo en el fondo somos vanidosas. Si nos dan la oportunidad de sentirnos bien, ¿por qué no lo tomamos? Sí.
Are you dating anyone at the moment?
Tengo una persona especial.
What does he think?
Sorpresa, no sabe.
How are you hiding it from him? How are you getting away with it?
Le permití como tenerle el sentimiento de la duda, ¿será que se la hace? ¿Será que no se la hace? Pero cuando ya piensa, wow, ya, me la hice. Thank you.
Whilst the fashion continued minute by minute, amazingly, I managed to wangle a meeting with Roberto Escobar, the late Pablo's brother, accountant and general right-hand man. I felt that if anyone could shed some light on narco beauty, he might be the one.
Hola, Roberto.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué has hecho?
Can we please come into your beautiful house?
Con mucho gusto.
Your brother obviously was attracted to beautiful things. Did that extend to the way he presented himself?
Pablo se compraba 360 camisas para el año y todos los días se estrenaba una camisa. Mi madre las cogía y se las llevaba a los estudiantes de los colegios más pobres de la ciudad y se las regalaba. Él era una persona que le gustaban las mujeres bonitas, preparadas y las mujeres elegantes para vestir.
What do you think about this term narco beauty?
Primera vez la escucho, nunca la había llegado a escuchar.
We abandoned that line of questioning and let this sweet old blind man continue to touch me up as he gave me the tour.
Esa es la foto de Pablo. Estaba en la cárcel y este gorro se lo trajo mi madre de Rusia. Que ese gorro lo ponen todos los turistas que vienen acá para tomarse su foto aquí. Ah, vea. Ah, no, esta ya veo que... Aquí todos los días se hacen cosas diferentes, pero la moda es muy importante para Medellín. Aquí hay mucho genio. Medellín sería la capital de la moda en el mundo.
Ciao, Roberto.
¿Ah?
Later on, we battled against the traffic to make it in time for Maria's surgery.
Buenos días. ¿Cómo amaneció? Mi nombre es hermana Aura, por aquí la vamos a atender muy bien. Bienvenido. Le vamos a dar un vestidito para que usted se coloque aquí.
Ya está.
She's obviously nervous, but she's holding it together quite well, unlike some of us.
We are going to begin the anesthetic procedure at this moment. Puedes respirar profundo, oxígeno, muy bien. Vamos a cuidar mucho de ti, ¿listo?
When I see her lying there, it almost makes me feel as if she's got to 44. She's pretty gorgeous. It almost does seem a bit unnecessary.
Poco común y corriente, no tiene que quedarse callada. Pueden hablar. Pueden hablar.
We just have to try and stay calm. As soon as we feel a bit sick, we have to leave immediately, otherwise we will faint.
This is a regular kind of liposuction.
I'm just pretending I'm watching TV. If I feel like changing the channel, I just look out the window.
El espacio aquí donde está la grasa se amplía por el líquido. Look at the skin without fat. This is a sign that we are finished. The muscle contracts because I am in the muscle. Gasas que acabo de colocar ayudan a ampliar aún más el espacio allá adentro. I'm going to put the implant inside.
I think it's like trying to get a square peg in a round hole. One implant's in and one's halfway in. Yay! That's the second implant in.
Y termina la parte de la cirugía del aumento del glúteo. Luego vamos a inyectar la grasa en este hundido. I had to be careful with balls that you can see here.
Yes. What's this?
Fat.
Ay, no se burle de nosotras.
No, que comparto lo que a uno le pasa.
I've just witnessed my first gluteoplasty and it looks amazing. It looks really natural. It looks so much better. I'm a bit jealous, to be honest. We left Maria in recovery and moved on to the final fashion show.
I don't know what that means. I think it means look at my ass.
The Leonisa Lingerie Show was a combination of all the differing beauty and style ideals we'd come across during our time in Medellin. Backstage was packed full of world-class models, and yet the energy and atmosphere was still uniquely Colombian. Narco beauty is clearly a dying aesthetic, a hangover from a time that was in all seriousness a fiercely unhealthy chapter in Colombia's history. It's no surprise that the new fashion trends are looking towards a more sleek European ideal. Hopefully the Latin spirit doesn't become completely diluted in the name of high fashion.
Someone said to me when we were backstage, fashion in Medellin's always a fiesta, and I think that kind of summed it up. So now we're going to go and have a fiesta.
Oye, le gustaba
The after-party was a bit of an anticlimax. Inert models stood half-naked in cold, shallow water, gawped at by gross men with bad hair and shirts. A depressing example of how quickly the male gaze can turn sexy into seedy. It was getting late, and before my cameraman was lost forever to an elevator full of lingerie models, I felt we'd probably come to the end of our Colombian jaunt. We still had one last person to catch up with before we left.
Maria, how did you feel when you woke up? What was the first thing that came into your head?
Gracias a Dios salí bien y que ya estaba bien, pero un frío. Era temblando porque eso es de la anestesia, sentí mucho frío y mucho temblor en mis piernas, pero contenta, feliz.
You look like a model. Your figure looks incredible.
Ay, tan bella, gracias. Sí, me siento súper bien. Me veo así, sí, así era como yo quería estar. Y valió la pena el sacrificio. Valió la pena porque de aquí en adelante sí me siento súper, hiper, mega feliz. Por eso estaba feliz y estaba tan tranquila, porque sé que quedaban en la persona adecuada y más que adecuada, muy profesional en sus cosas. Es que es muy diferente uno estar así.
Where does it hurt?
Me duele toda esta parte de acá. Pero a comparación como que me aguanto.
Fashion Week's over, streets full of drunk people, and so it's probably time to leave Colombia. We've had an epic week. We love Colombia.